And we're back for another episode of Savoir Brooklyn, the podcast that teaches you all things to know about Brooklyn, starting from the stories of dope entrepreneurs that look like us and talk like us and think like us and come from us. It's your boy Patagonia Lattes, P&L, the purveyor of all things pumpkin spice and pistachio. And I'm here in Little Caribbean, Women's History Month, with a very dope entrepreneur, Kawana Jefferson. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
There you go. So, for the people that do not know who you are, tell them, first who you are, where you're from, and what you own.
Got you. Well, as Khalil just mentioned, my name is Kawana Jefferson. Born and raised in the Boogie Down, the Bronx, New York.
Excuse me.
I am the owner of Sweet Brooklyn Bar, located in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. I am the co-owner of Sweet Brooklyn Bar in Crown Heights. I am the co-owner of Sweet Catch, Brooklyn, where we are today, in PLG, formerly known as
Little Caribbean, PLG.
Flatbush, and
We had to cut that out now.
and I'm also the co-owner of Lost Barrel Ice Cream in Yonkers, New York.
Shout out to all the guys in Yonkers. I know y'all think y'all are the sixth borough, but shout out to my Yonkers guys. So, how did you survive the treacherous terrain of the Bronx to make it here to Brooklyn? And why did you choose to open up? Actually, no, we can step back a little bit. What's your ethnic background? Are you from the Caribbean? Are you from the South? Are you from, Nova Scotia, Canada? Where you from?
My family, I'm from New York.
Right.
But my family is out of the Low Country, the South.
Okay.
South Carolina, North Carolina. So, and really not to jump into business too far, but that's what really inspired this concept for where we are now, just to invite people to kind of my experience and what it felt like growing up in my family and in my grandmother's house, essentially. But yeah, I'm from the South. I'm a Southern girl.
There you go.
I'm African American.
There you go. So some would say regular black, but
Exactly. Pretty much. Boring black, right?
Yeah, right, there you go. So if you could pick two or three things that grandma made that you used to look forward to, what were those two or three things? I'm trying to see if any of them are on the menu right now.
One is actually my grandmother's red rice. That I grew up on red rice, and I felt like it was important for me to feature that on a menu because it's so rare to find in New York City or anywhere other than the South. Honestly, it's not jollof rice,
right.
Jambalaya. So to be able to feature that and introduce a type of rice that people don't readily get was important to me, and it really I have a really bad memory, right? I've always had a really bad memory, and I like to be one with the earth. I'm not sure how much that helps, right? But so when there's things that really stick out to me, they're really important and valuable. So the fact that I remember just how flavorful and the taste of the red rice was, I don't know, it just speaks to my heart. Of course, the macaroni and cheese that's on the menu.
Mac and cheese is slapping,
right? And that's literally my Aunt Doll's recipe, and we named it Aunt Doll's mac and cheese on the memory, just paying respect to my aunt who's still here with us. And one more thing, definitely the crab cake. The crab cake is bussin'. It was important for us. I mean, we tweaked it. Probably we was tweaking it 3 months into being open, but we know we wanted to resemble a Maryland-style crab cake. We wasn't quite there when we first opened up, but we were diligent, and the crab cake is definitely reflective of that. I think any of my Maryland heads would come through and be proud.
No, that's dope. And side note, anybody in the family named anybody with a nickname that's like Dot, Juice, Bump, Hop, anything like that, they can cook.
That's a fact.
So, Aunt Dot, Aunt Dottie, I got one too. Aunt Lou, her devil days were crazy. Bubba, anybody with those names got a mean cooking game, so I can definitely relate to that as well. So where'd you go to high school in the Bronx?
Harry S. Truman High School, Co-op City, cousins with Evander and Clinton. You know, everybody. If you know Truman, you know Clinton, you know Evander, and you got best friends or cousins or something between those three schools right there. But I went to Truman. My brother went to Truman. He graduated from Truman. My sister, she also graduated from Truman. So a lot of Truman heads.
I don't know too much about the schools up there. I know Taft was called Training Animals for Tomorrow, and that was like a wild one. I almost went to Bronx Science, but people was like, no, they'll kill you in the Bronx. It's like in Lion King when Simba and his pops are sitting on the thing. It's like, Dad, what's that dark land over there? It was like the Bronx. You must never go there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's different parts of the Bronx, right?
As I'm learning now.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's a big kind of like point. So I'm from the North Bronx, which is a lot more residential, closer to like Westchester, Mount Vernon, Yonkers. And so it's a little different around those parts compared to like the South Bronx, which is a little more low
Shout out to
down
the 6th Street.
Right? That's a fact.
Cypress Ave.
Exactly. You know, Prospect Ave. Yeah, it's a little more gritty, but still much love. That's my home, my hometown.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's different. You're getting two different things when you're depending on where you're at in the Bronx, for sure.
My aunt was on Gun Hill Road on a 5 train, so I used to take the 2 train all the way from Brooklyn. And
that's a long ride.
It's a long ride, and then you gotta get up for 180th and wait for the 5 shuttle that takes forever to come on the weekends.
Or 149th. You could get up for 149th too and catch the 5.
It's funny because I was going on the weekends, I used to always have to like go to 180th, and the 5 train would only go from 180th to Dyer and back. It wouldn't come over.
Oh yeah, because it's the local. It's the local.
Yeah.
5 trains local, the 2 train. No, 5 train is express. The 2 train was local.
Yeah, but for some reason on the weekends it was always track work, so the 5 was only going to like 180th and back, like every single time I went up there. But no, that's a good segue into. So it sounds like you're very passionate about the Bronx.
I am.
So I opened up businesses in Brooklyn.
Well, one, I'm passionate about New York City.
Got you.
You know, I think no matter what borough you're from, we all share similar experiences. I think, being from the city, although all boroughs do give you a little different, right,
Yeah.
Queens? You're getting a little different from each borough. But I think I went to an HBCU, Virginia State University.
VSU?
Yes,
There you
VSU, Trojan.
There you go.
And, when they say that Brooklyn is deep and Brooklyn is everywhere,
That's a fact.
that's a fact.
That's a fact.
Like,
yeah.
that's a whole fact. So, when we have, like, different events at school, and, they're shouting out D.C., Philly, BA, and New York, I mean, the amount, probably 90% of the New Yorkers were from Brooklyn.
Facts.
So I established a large network of just friends in Brooklyn. I've always bartended. I've always been in nightlife, hosting, bartending, serving, just doing something in nightlife. And I was actually working in Harlem. And I'm talking like this is like 15 years ago. Oh, Lord Jesus. And I had an opportunity to work in Brooklyn at a club at the time. And from that club, the owner ended up being a mentor of mine. He ended up taking over another bar in Fort Greene named Moe's.
Shout out to Moe's. Yeah.
Shout out to Moe's.
Bring back your food menu, man.
I had some good times at Moe's.
So for those that do not know, if you lived in Brooklyn, or even if you've been around the city in the last like 10, 15 years, and you hung out and you're in like the black professional crowd, you had to have stopped through Moe's at some point. I actually went to school right around the corner from there. Shout out to Brooklyn Tech. But yes, Moe's. So when you said Moe's, I'm like, wow, like I've spent several nights in Moe's, and I've been there when they had a kitchen, when they didn't have a kitchen, when they had a kitchen, when they didn't have a kitchen. It's a good spot.
It is, and I was there. I was there on Friday nights. I was literally driving from Yonkers because I'm a school psychologist. So I was working as a full-time school psychologist, getting out of school, driving all the way to Brooklyn from Yonkers during traffic. It was horrible, and I would jump right into this busy service. Matter of fact, I'm lying. I would go home and take a power nap.
I'm about to say, that West Side traffic or the FDR traffic is different. Different traffic. Yeah.
Especially during rush hour.
Yeah, it's different. It's different.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I would go home, take a nap, and then I would shoot to Moe's and literally jump into like a full bar, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
But I say all of that to say that I forged a lot of relationships in Brooklyn. I had a mentor who was an owner and owned multiple bars. And, for any business owner or aspiring business owners, anybody would tell you mentorship is half the battle. It's really important to have somebody to kind of hold your hand and really enlighten you on the different various facets about what you're trying to get into. So establishing a network. Brooklyn was growing, gentrification was happening, a lot of small businesses were appearing, and it just was really the perfect opportunity, and it seemed like the perfect place to move forward with my first endeavor.
No, that's
Yes.
dope. So, what was your first endeavor, and what was step one with that first endeavor, and what was that first endeavor?
Well, I think I'm gonna take a step back even more, right? My
Sure.
first I'd say entrepreneurial endeavor was real estate. I purchased a house in
Nice.
Atlanta after I graduated, and this was during the recession, so houses was dirt cheap, but
Yeah.
it was also very difficult to get approved because prior to that, everybody was getting approved for homes. So
Yeah.
they put all these restrictions that just made it a lot tougher. But I was able to get approved, get this rental property, and I was really able to start to experience what residual income was,
Nice.
do the work and start to reap benefits from afar. And I was like, ooh, this lit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think first and foremost, really the feeling and really knowing that I want to be an entrepreneur. This is really what I want to do. So that was first. I think kind of just mentally putting myself in that position. I mean, even before that, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's why I got the house. But I think really knowing what you want to do, doing the research, right? And for me, it was a process. It took several years of building myself up to actually do the work, right? Because I don't come from a family of countless business owners. I'm probably one of the first ones to actually have a brick and mortar. So I think like a lot of people, I was very intimidated by the process and not really knowing where to start, but knowing I had all the tools.
Right.
I know I had all the tools, and that could. I don't really know how you want to question it because it could be a long, drawn out response, and it's so much information. I'm just so eager and excited to share with everybody.
Absolutely.
Because I know there's a lot of people out there just like me, look just like me, and really are creative and have ideas and want to be business owners and just don't know where to start. So for me, one, just really knowing what you want to do. Two, being engrossed in what you want to do. So anybody could say, oh, I want to own a bar, I want to own a club. But if you've never really been in that environment, it's hard to kind of really see that through or know what you're up against. So I think if you really want to be a bar owner, maybe start serving, try to be a manager, get some type of experience in that industry that you want to do. So I had a leg up there.
I want to pause you right there for a
yes.
second because I think that's excellent advice. I think a lot of times people want to come in and start right at the top. I'm a boss. I'm not a worker. Mm-hmm. And not understanding that in order to be one, I don't like the word boss. I like leaders, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think some of the best leaders are the ones that could scrub that table, could bust that
Absolutely.
table, could make that drink. So the fact that you have that experience, I've come here before and it's packed, and you're making drinks, right?
Absolutely.
And you have tremendous bartenders. Shout out to Wade, right?
Wade.
But I feel like the fact that you can actually step in and do that stuff yourself, it leads to it boosts your credibility. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that oftentimes, as you said, when people are trying to start in business, they don't know where to start, and they often feel like, well, certain things are beneath them. So I like that you said whatever your passion is, whether it's real estate, the restaurant industry, a bar, whatever, you have to have an understanding of the industry before you
Precisely.
can say that you want to lead. Because I've seen people in places all the time where they might have like a good mac and cheese or a good whatever, but whoever's in charge isn't built for managing because they don't understand what goes into it, and they don't understand sometimes like, okay, as a server, you have different aches and pains and gripes than you would as like a manager,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you're a chef or someone making drinks or a runner, you have different constraints. You have different ups and downs, highs and lows, and if you don't have an understanding of that, then you can be too like tunnel vision and not be able to like empathize with your people. So
Absolutely.
I think it's great that you said that point about getting that foundation in whatever you want to do before you say that you want to just,
Absolutely.
go right to the top.
Because it just may not be for you.
Right.
It just may not be for you. So, so that's important. I know for me, a business plan was very overwhelming, right? But my brother, who is also a business owner, he's a pastor and he's one of my advisors, and he introduced New York. He told me about New York City Business Solutions when I was in the process of creating my business plan, and they were a huge tool for me very early in. Workshops,
Nice.
free counselors, just a wealth of just free material for people that are aspiring to be business owners, and they were essential in the early development of me actually really kind of saying, all right, it's time, let me proceed. There's so many resources in New York City. I think it's important for people to do the research and tap in and explore all of those resources are at our disposal, especially minority-owned businesses, because it could seem overwhelming, but I think if you are intentional and you kind of do things one by one, like tackle, you absolutely need a business plan. It is not cliche when people say you need a business plan. That is your strategy. I remember me and my sister, who's one of my biggest supporters, Kayem Mamutu. She also just wrote a children's book.
Make sure we plug that too. We got to plug that.
Absolutely. And she helped me with my projections. Initially, the projections were, she was like, "Oh, we're done the business plan," and the projections were probably like 10 columns, five rows. I mean, it was a joke.
Oh, man.
And but I was able to connect with an accountant who was able to knock that out for me. So I say that to say it's important to do what is in what's in your expertise. Don't try to do things that you are not equipped to do, because it'll slow down the process and you'll spend so much time trying to conquer one thing, probably still get it wrong. So I think delegation is extremely important, and having a team that you can go to of people that are experienced and can really advise you and provide you with the material that you need to move forward and be successful.
Love that. I think two things I want to touch on, because we're kind of already there, is one of the things I hear a lot is, man, that costs too much money. And I know in a place like New York City, there's like a lot of red tape in anything, right? Especially if you want to have a restaurant. Well, you got to get all these licenses, particularly like a liquor license. I don't know, I've heard is like really painful to get. But then also funding a business, right? Like a lot of people say, I can't afford to do that. And I want you to, if you can, talk a little bit about some of the funding options that people have, maybe something that you took advantage of, where if you're starting a business, you don't have to necessarily bootstrap it all on your own. Mm-hmm. You can, use, someone else's money or a grant or something like that, and also how you structure a business, right? Because I think people don't know about, like, people hear the word LLC and they think it's just like something cute to use, right? But it's like, if you can talk about how to like structure a business from your perspective, right? Like, I'm not saying to give like a whole business course, but it's like, if you're starting a restaurant business, what are some of the things that you should consider around like a business structure? And then what are some of your funding options, so you don't have to necessarily, blow through your 401k or spend every single dollar in your bank account in order to get the business off the ground?
Okay. Well, there was a couple of things there, right?
Yeah.
Well, one, anybody knows it's better to spend someone else's money. In our community, we tend to be a little afraid, or a lot afraid,
right,
of loans. But I think the right loans are there for you to succeed, and to have leverage and actually have the tools and that you need to be successful, right? So I would first start off saying, do not be afraid of loans, the right loans. And I'm gonna take it a step back even more, and kind of like touch on the fundamentals, right? Because I think it really comes down to, I'm gonna give an example. When I was growing up, there was one thing I had to do before I left my house when I was living with my mom, and I was make my bed, So if I didn't make my bed when I came home, I legit was in trouble. So I made my bed every single solitary morning. Once I became an adult and I was living by myself, or even in college, I went off to college, I was in a dorm or whatever. The one thing that I did every day before I left was make up my bed. It was just instilled in me. It was second nature. And this is just like a really small example, but it's just an example to kind of really show that repetition and practice really becomes like second nature. You'll start to do things without even thinking about it. And in order to put yourself in a position to qualify for good loans or loans that have low interest rates that are in your favor, you absolutely have to have credibility. At this point, you can have access to loans, and you don't necessarily need a credit score of 800, but a 650 is still probably going to be required. So to really put yourself in a position, you have to start from now. With those habits, paying your bills on time, not running up debt. And just being diligent about your practices. And it's never too late to do that. There's a lot of different resources and people that help you raise your credit score and put you in a position so that you can qualify for and access certain finances. But I think that's probably the most important is being real with where you are, what you have going on, because it's easy to say, oh, I want to go out for a loan, I want this. But, your credit scores are 500, so you have to make sure you're working on you and doing the things that are really going to put you in a position. So I had that in my favor, which was great. Shout out to my moms, instilling those fundamentals in me from a very early age. I also started with the SBA loan, which is people I don't think necessarily understand what SBA loan, Small Business Association loan, and SBA backs up other organizations who actually do the funding, so that if you don't end up paying it, then they pay it out to the organization,
okay.
Right? So they're not actually
funder.
The funder, exactly. They're backing up the funders, but those loans typically are really in minority-owned business owners' favor, or first-time business owners' favors as well. Then you have CDFIs, which I'm almost positive, and somebody could look it up real quick, Community Development Financial Institutions, which are really geared to people like me who never had a small business, who don't have a lot of resources and money. You do have to. A lot of those lenders do require for you to have at least 20% of what the cost of the project is, because they do want you to be invested. Right? It's easy to take somebody else's money and not be dedicated to the project, but they want you to be invested and dedicated and know that you have some skin in the game. So it is important to have a little stash and some money, because it definitely will be needed. But those are just like real minimal, like real entry level kind of like, all right, what do I do to at least put myself in a position to start to acquire some funding that can get me to this big dream, right? To this big goal.
No, that's dope. So we talked about funding, and it sounds like I know of other programs like the Goldman program and
Goldman Sachs.
Yeah,
I was part of the 10 KSB, 10,000 small business owners. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Shout out to Dean Howard. She's a friend of the platform. She'll be on the platform soon. Mm-hmm. So talk through that, because I think these are things that are local to the neighborhood. Like, I think everything you're saying is phenomenal, right? But it's also like, what's unfortunate sometimes in our community is that all the times we hit hurdles, like you said, you might not have a 650 credit score, or you might have certain friction. You might have some difficulties in getting a liquor license. But I think one of the biggest issues in our community is a lack of access to information, right? Because if okay, I need a 650, then you can take the action steps to get a 650. If you know about different programs, then you can say, all right, if I need 20% down, then I can start to self-correct and make sure I can get there. But I think oftentimes it's a lack of information, or we get some information, it works for us, and now we want to sell you the information, right? Like, our community is the only one that I can tell is selling information to each other instead of like sharing information. Now, if you have like a very bespoke path and you want to like give people like some nuggets, and then you're a trailblazer, so you want to sell like a course or whatever, that's fine. But I think too often in our community, it's like we hide information, like we got to be the only one. And every other community is the opposite. It's like even if they hate each other personally, from a business perspective, they'll get money together if it makes sense for their community, but more importantly for their wallet. So I want to dive into the Goldman program a bit because I think it's one of those ones that's a really good one, but people don't know enough about it. And it sounds like you were able to benefit from it.
I was able to benefit from it. Well, one, the Goldman Sachs Small Business Program, excuse me, is for business owners who already have businesses that are thriving. So in order to even be accepted into the program, you have to submit taxes, financials, and just the state of where your business is for them to evaluate and see if your business is on an upward trajectory for you to be enrolled. So, we were doing well and are doing well, and I enrolled as Sweet Brooklyn at the time, with Sweet Catch being my growth opportunity.
Nice.
And that's twofold because now
Nice.
we're here at
Exactly.
Sweet Catch, which is beautiful. But it's for business owners who have thriving businesses. And what was great about Goldman Sachs program is the reality is a lot of business owners, small business owners, are business owners not necessarily by trade. Like me, I went to school for psychology, and I got my master's from Mercy in school psychology. I don't even think I've ever taken a business course. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know really about P&Ls and income statements and balance sheets. So at that program, pretty much everybody in the cohort was very similar to me, just
Nice.
like learning in real time. So they kind of, it was like a crash course in
That's dope.
business,
That's dope.
with actual numbers, really diving into what your business was doing, where are those growth opportunities, and just really highlighting all the different resources that are out there. And really, honestly, what they did at the very first day is they really made it clear and pointed out how impactful and how little small, how do I say this? That there's not a lot of small businesses. We are a very
Right.
small percentage, right?
Which are very impactful to your communities.
Precisely, right?
Yeah,
But
agreed.
small businesses are the backbone, but it's not a lot of us. It's a lot more people working for these mega
Franchises,
and companies. And I think more than anything out of the Goldman Sachs program, I was able, and they said it also, like the most important thing you're going to be able to get out of that program was the network. Being surrounded by like-minded individuals that are on the same path as you is extremely important. So that was the first time really I was in that type of space with outside of college, because of
Right.
course we started an organization in my college, Future African American Millionaires. Shout out to fam, where you at?
That's dope.
So
dope.
of course in school I was also around a lot of like-minded people that we had shared similar interests.
You can
and
shout the
goals.
organization out.
I did, fam.
The other organizations, shout
Oh,
them
Delta.
out. Yeah, you can shout them out
yeah.
too. You can shout them out too.
Yes, I'm a Delta.
Shout out to the Reds.
Yes.
I don't want no problem with no K's though. K's is all out love and all that, but we rock with the Deltas, we rock with the Reds. So
Alpha Eta, where you at?
there you go, there you go.
So that was probably one of the things that stood out to me the most. I graduated from that program maybe 4 years ago at this point. Time has gone by so fast, and I still have a lot of meaningful relationships that come out of there. Still have a wealth of resources from people and friends that I established when I was in the program. So yes, it was just a wealth of information and a real. I'm real grateful to have had that opportunity. And again, though, it's a lot to do with you being following through. At the time, my lender, who I established a relationship with, was the one who told me about the Goldman Sachs program. But he just mentioned it. So, you have to be diligent and really dedicated and follow through, because he could have told me about it and went one ear out the other. But I was like, all right, that sounds good. Let me jump on the internet, let me apply, and let me push forward and do the work. You really have
You
to
dropping
do the
so many
work.
gems about doing the work, about being resourceful. But you probably walked in there with the energy of, I'm focused, and he probably felt that and was just like, you know what? here's some more information, right? Which is why, again, I think this information is to be given out. Like they say, the game is to be sold and not told, and I think in certain contexts that works. But and we're fighting to keep, Brooklyn and the Bronx and those places as black as possible. We should be sharing as many resources as possible. So I think you're dropping a wealth of gems. Something you just touched on that I wanted to dig a little further on was, so you got Sweet Brooklyn, one of the best brunches. Shout out to Kwanzaa Kroll. I went there through Kwanzaa Kroll, live music, amazing chicken and waffle, great drinks. But now you also have Sweet Catch, and you got the Lost Borough. What compelled you to keep opening up more businesses? Because a lot of times people can't get past the first one. You got 3 of them things. So, like, how did you, like, one, what was the thought process like in terms of jumping from 1 to 2, but then also 2 to 3?
Well, I think one, outside, we've opened Sweet Brooklyn in 2016, right? So we're approaching 7 years.
Nice.
The goal was to open a second location at like year 3.
Wow.
We actually were approved for funding maybe 3.5, third year, and started looking. And it was so challenging to actually find a space.
Really? In Brooklyn or just in general?
Well, in general, but definitely in Brooklyn, we wanted a space in Bed-Stuy. There's
It's
when
hard
you,
to- Bed-Stuy's tough,
and then when you're doing a liquor license, there's these different regulations as far as the feet away from the school, away from a church. I mean, I didn't realize how many churches were in Brooklyn.
And those also antiquated laws. Like, a lot of those laws don't even, like, to go back a little bit in history, like, a lot of that stuff is, like, remnants of the temperance movement and like prohibition and that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's crazy that you have all of these, like, it's crazy that these things are still on the books. And I think it's those kind of barriers that I think people sometimes can't get past because and you're touching on stuff already, but it's like a lot of the times when you're trying to do this thing with anything, even if you're trying to file an LLC, people might say, okay, I have a great idea, I'm gonna file an LLC. In New York, you have a publication requirement. So then you got to pay all this money to publicize your LLC in the paper.
Absolutely.
Which is a super old requirement, but it's there because back in the day, you had to have a way for people to know that you had a business so that it wouldn't, compete with somebody else's if they already had the same name. Old concept, but you still got to do it, right? So now, we're getting a liquor license. People are like, oh, it's cost prohibitive. It costs a lot of money, but it's also like the time is going to pass regardless. So, you got to push through it.
And it really does not cost a lot of money for the actual liquor license.
It's everything around it.
It's everything around it. So the lawyer fee is more than a liquor license.
Those pesky lawyers.
That's more than a liquor license. And I think, so there's that misconception, right, that a liquor license is so expensive, because it really isn't.
Right.
But what was the original question? I don't remember.
The 1 business to the 2 to the 3.
Yes, yes. So we were looking for a really long time, relentlessly. And I do think there's a thing about, being a woman or being African American, and then, a lot of the property are owned by, certain demographic. And a lot of times you are kind of like passed over or looked over or off the idea that maybe, you're bringing a rowdy or a certain clientele that they may not necessarily want.
Even in the black neighborhood.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the black, whether it's black neighborhood or not, they're not the buildings aren't owned by black people.
That's true.
Very
true.
So absolutely,
You
in
don't
black,
own the land.
That's a fact. So absolutely, and so that was disheartening because we were looking for a long time, and now everything on paper really said they deserve to sign this lease. Absolutely, but there were these factors that that we still don't know of, that we could assume that took us out the running for a lot of locations. So we ended up actually signing a lease in Harlem for this concept, February of 2020.
COVID.
Exactly, precisely. The landlord at the time wasn't given any type of concessions once things opened back
What a
up.
bozo.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's just like, Cuomo, shout out to Cuomo, was able to put this clause in place where if you were the personal guarantor, if you signed a lease, I think from January, you were able to get out without any type of responsibility penalties. So we ate that. We took that, because they wasn't being amenable at all. And we ended up, through COVID, just getting a lot of support from Brooklyn, a lot of support from our family, a lot of support from our clientele, our customers. They held us down. Much love. And at that time, we started to do a lot more community service and just really tap into community and it just made sense to kind of push forward here in Brooklyn. So it was a concept that we've had for a while, a concept that we worked on and tried to find a home for at least 4 years. Wow. But the goal is always to expand. Like, I will say this, as a business owner, having a small business, especially, square footage is a thing, right? There's only, and I didn't understand this when I first became a business owner, then when I'm talking to my accountant, your business is going to cap out. Like, there's only a certain amount of money that you can make from this square footage, being open this amount of hours, and it just get to a point where you kind of like cap out. So, and there's a lot of expenses. Your gross is so much different from your bottom line. So if you're not doing more things and diversifying, you're just gonna be stagnant. You're not really gonna make any money. Like, really, as the business owner, you're paid last. If you're not doing well, you're not paid at all. And really, in order to really have the type of success that I want, I have to go on and do more things. I have to open up more businesses. The goal for me is to be able to create a concept, and I think this is important, and I learned this also in the Goldman Sachs program, is to create a concept that eventually you can sell, right? Like, so having restaurants and being in this industry, I don't necessarily want to have to reinvent the wheel every time. I want to produce a concept that I believe in, grow that, and one day, sell it for a lot of money.
There you go.
So growing and opening up multiple establishments, going into real estate, which I think is also important. Even now, and this is just being transparent. We don't own these businesses that we properties that we operate out of. So for me, it makes me very vulnerable.
Right.
Of course there's leases, but again, this process was another learning experience, signing this lease, and even lawyers, they're not necessarily perfect. They're human, like
pesky
doctors.
Lawyers.
Like doctors. So, and my brother, I remember looking back at some of the stuff we had going in here, and I spoke to my brother, and I was feeling kind of like down and a little frustrated. And he's like, "Look, baby girl, everybody paid for school, and honestly, it really made me feel better." He's like, "You paying it, and you paying for it in real time, and that's the reality of it. Like, and it's the best." It's the best education. It's the best money that I could spend in real time, learning how to be a business owner, making these mistakes. That's only going to help me as I continue to propel. But yeah, diversification is important, and really tapping into real estate and ownership for me is even more important. I'm just kind of like just like pinching and kind of just like rubbing on the surface right now. So I'm so far from where I really want to be. This baby is less than a year old. The ice cream shop is a year old. So I'm of a certain age at this point, so I don't necessarily feel like I have time to waste. However, I will say, now that I'm 3 businesses in, you have to be strategic with your timing, because the fact is, it's only a certain amount of hours in a day, and you can absolutely put too much on your plate. And if you have too much on your plate, you cannot really give your all to one thing. And that really is a thing. Like, focus on one thing and really put your all in it, get that off the ground, and then pivot. Because unless you have a lot of money and resources to get a lot of help, you know what I'm saying, and hire assistants, and just people that can do a lot of the groundwork for you, because it's no joke.
This is a lot of game. You took one of the questions I was going to ask was, what was like a low point, but you also touched on some high points as well. How do you balance the businesses? I understand you have a family as well. How do you balance all of that out and, still make time for you? Is there a balance? And if so, what does that look like?
Oh, Lord God. This happens to be right now a time where I am overextended. I'm a lot of positive affirmations, a lot of mental fortitude, a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments, a lot of things that's happening that's obviously going to make me more resilient. You have to be able to learn take your L's and find the lessons in them with being a business owner, because you do not want to make the same mistakes over and over.
It's either a blessing or a lesson. Blessing or a lesson. Again, I love what you're saying, because a lot of what it is I think I've been in this spot, it's been packed. There's been times we came in here and it was just like, all right, we're just gonna go to our usual spot. It was like, we got stopped at the door. It's like,
not today.
Not today. You got a resi. And I was like, oh man. But for me, I took that as, yo, this is dope. Like, we want to see that growth. And it's, like, if we got to come back, but 2 or 3 people are pumping money into this place, and I think that's phenomenal, right? But I think that, like, people will walk in here and see it packed and, you know, enjoy the food, enjoy everything else, and not know how much actually goes into it. And, you know, we've had, you know, even before we recorded, we've had situations where, you know, we were here and life happened, right? So it's just like, I think that resiliency piece, I think a lot of times people see the end results, they see the fluff, and
what is it? One day it's gonna look like it happened overnight.
Not knowing how much behind the scenes work. Like, even now while we're recording, people are coming in, dropping stuff off, people doing inventory. Like, it's a lot that has to go on. And I think sometimes in our community, people see the external, because some people are better at holding in, or not even holding in, they're better at just like processing certain things. And like you said, resiliency. Some people are more resilient than others, and they can kind of eat certain things, like handle the stress, handle the losses. And, you know, I always go back to If, right? It's like my favorite poem all the time, but it's like treating triumph and disaster, like those 2 imposters, treating them the same exact way. Like, don't get too high, don't get too low. But I think oftentimes people are very microwavers. They want things to happen instantaneously. And the first sign of trouble, it's like, man, I can't do this. Not knowing that if you invest in yourself and you bet on yourself, one of the best things you can get from entrepreneurship is financial freedom. Because
one day, because I ain't financially free yet, you know. I will say this immediately, right? That's the one misconception. You're not gonna become a small business owner and just be banking. Like, that's not happening. It is really the long game. It is the long game. So you really have to be, you know, really doing something that you love. You know, I think that's really important. Yeah.
No, that's a great segue into, you know, we had a lot of very, not tough questions, but very, like, involved questions. Now we're going to do, like, unless there's anything else that you want to, you know, dive into on, like, entrepreneurship, business ownership, licensing. I think you touched on so many different points. You put a lot of free game out there. This is the part where we do, like, the rapid fire questions. So, first one in this lightning round is, would you rather shop on Fordham Road or 3rd Ave?
Fordham Road, hands down.
And why is that?
Well, as I mentioned before, I'm a uptown Bronx girl, you know? So, I mean, really, half a dozen one, what's the saying? One or the other, half a dozen, 12 of the other, whatever, 6 of the other, I don't know. But it's all the same shit. Fordham Road was closer to me. So that's why I ended up shopping on Fordham Road more. They had, like, more jewelry, like, spots. That's where you went to, like, get your gold or whatever.
Name belts and all that.
All that. Fordham Road. I mean, but 3rd Avenue was cool. I worked on 3rd Avenue probably, like, 2 years as a social worker. So I hit up the VIM over there, too.
Man. I ain't want to throw any shots at 3rd Ave, but it sounded like 3rd Ave is too ghetto, and it's like the North Bronx don't intermingle with the commoners down in the South Bronx.
I mean, look, it's definitely closer to the South Bronx, a little more rough. Matter of fact, even shopping on 3rd Avenue, one Christmas season, we got robbed. My mom, we was out shopping, and somebody snatched the bag. My mom, being the G she is, ran after them, screaming, "Stop that guy!" He got away though. So that's what you getting at 3rd Avenue. I'm sure the same thing is happening at Fordham, but we ain't get robbed on Fordham. But we definitely got robbed on 3rd Avenue.
Bronx, I got to do better, man. I can't be robbing y'all business owners, man. I've shopped on Fordham before
business
too.
Owners,
yeah, like.
That's throwback.
Yeah, I've shopped on Fordham. Fordham is definitely like a massive street, but it remind me of downtown Brooklyn. As I
For
say,
sure, like Fulton. Like that's what Fulton reminded me of when I got here. Like, oh, this is like Fordham Road.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. All right. What's more ratchet, the 2 train or the 4 train? And I guess with that, you could put 2 and the 5 together. But
Exactly.
what's more ratchet, 2, 5, or the 4 train, or the D train? Like, are they like?
I guess because I'm biased and I was on the 2 and the 5 all the time, I'm gonna go ahead and throw that on the 4 line real quick. You know, the two. I was raised on Gun Hill, White Plains Road, so I was always on the 2 and the 5. Every now and then I'll get on 4 train, but they all the same shit. It's all the same shit for the most part. But I think the 4 train was like on like the west side of the Bronx, right, going through Westchester Ave and all that.
Jerome Ave?
Yeah, Jerome.
Yeah. I know like 4 streets in the Bronx. I know Gun Hill, I know Jerome, Burnside, and so like my pops was a train conductor, rest his soul, for a long time. So I used to ride the trains with him all day. I used to be fascinated. So I knew like all the stops on like a lot of the trains, and he used to work on the 6 train. And it's
6
like,
and the 4 line and like go the same way.
yeah, and then the 4 was fast, but the 6,
Local.
so it's local. It stops in Manhattan, but it's just like every time the doors open, it was just like, is this gonna be Thriller like with zombies, or is it gonna be like somebody being super ratchet and aggressive? I remember one time somebody spit in his face because he closed the doors. Like, they have a schedule, right? So he closed the doors. The person was like, "You mighty call," and this is like early, let's like mid '90s. So they didn't really have safety classes. So he caught like a
Damn.
loogie right there.
He should have been out though for like that should have got him like good 3 months, right?
This is before it was like if you assault them in 70s, this is before all of that kind of stuff. And he was a G, so he came out of the cab and was ready to like, you know, shake, but he had to still watch the train as it's leaving the station. So then he came out. I was like, "Yo, you good?" He's like, he told me what happened, and I'm just like, I'm looking at his face, like I can see in his eyes that he's just like
livid,
and he had to wear that because one, the train left the station, right? But 2 is also like, he wasn't gonna like turn up in front of me, but he also wasn't going to like risk his whole
career
transit job, because transit back then was like transit, sanitation, fire. Those jobs was like pathways to generational freedom. So 6 train, y'all got to do better.
That's a fact.
All right, so last one, if you had to, like, it's almost like marry, kill, or smash. Instead, we'll do like the restaurant version.
Okay.
86 one, eat one every day, or add it to the menu. So jerk chicken, fried chicken, or curry chicken.
86 and curry chicken. It's up out of there.
Okay. Any reason why?
I don't know. It makes my fingernails
Too messy,
yellow.
yeah.
That's
Too
annoying.
messy.
And then when I used to have like braces with the clear braces with the clear rubber bands, and my
Yeah.
joints used to be yellow and glowing and shit. It was mad annoying. So
Yeah.
definitely curry up out of here.
Can't walk around with any kind of yellow on your teeth. That's not a good look.
Yeah, nah. And I just I don't know if curry is really good for you or not, but it stains so much. I'm just thinking it got to be doing something to your insides.
All right, so 86 is curry chicken.
Definitely 86 and curry chicken. What you said is staying? What?
So you can add one to the menu or just eat one every day.
Definitely fried chicken. I'm adding that.
Okay.
I'm eating that every day. Fried chicken. I mean, I'm from the South. I grew up on fried chicken. That's so I actually don't really. No, I love fried chicken. And fried chicken, the best thing about fried chicken is you can eat it when it's cold and it's still good. Or you need some hot sauce and you late.
Yeah, that's a
So
fact.
definitely shout out to all my fried chicken heads. Where you at, dude?
There you go. All right, we got one more in that same slate. Deviled eggs. You can't say, whoa. The deviled eggs here will change your life.
That's
These deviled
a
eggs are
fact.
different. So, deviled eggs, red rice, or collard greens. 86, add one, eat one.
Damn it. I was talking mad shit about the red rice earlier, and I'm like, damn, I think I'm like, okay, oh, damn, that I want an 86 to only like green. That's mad annoying. All right, well, we go at 86, the collard greens.
Oh, man.
I know.
I mean, but this is the seafood arms, so if anything, you can send the collard greens to Sweet Brooklyn.
That's a fact. Look, we're going to send out to Sweet Brooklyn. The deviled eggs, I'm definitely eating those every day. Ooh,
Yeah.
please beware.
The deviled eggs at Sweet Catch will change your life. I'm like a deviled eggs connoisseur. Like, I should get it, like, Food Network, y'all should give me a show where I travel and eat deviled eggs, because it's like, I'm a deviled eggs connoisseur. Like, I eat deviled eggs. Like, that's my thing. Shout out to old Shirley from the Bronx. I love your soul. I gotta go see you soon. I will. But deviled eggs, like, as a kid, fat kid tangent, but I used to be able to eat like a whole tray of deviled eggs.
Well, apparently it's not just you because we rolled out that brunch last weekend. Shout out to Carolyn and my boy Khalil came through support as they always do. But I mean, the deviled eggs had to be like the top seller. I think
different.
every single solitary table ordered them. I was excited about that.
I was actually gonna order 2 more orders, but I said no. I gotta be disciplined and focused. Because I was trying to just sample different things on the menu, so I was like, if I eat all these deviled eggs, I'm not gonna be able to finish anything else. All right, I said that was the last one. I got one more. Being that you have like the bartender background,
Precisely.
86, add or drink every day. Let's go old fashions, rum punch, or I almost want to mention a drink from the menu, but I'm gonna keep it. All right, old fashions, rum punch, or I can never think of the name of the drink.
The blue dress, the one that you like?
Yes, the blue dress.
I'm 86 in the old fashioned. Sorry to all my classic heads. I'm sorry. I know it's such a classic drink. It's such a classic drink, but it's like a man's drink. It's like, that's right.
Shout out to old fashions. Her old fashions are different. Her and Wade's in the background doing stuff, but their old fashions are different. And when I travel,
Made with Maker's Mark. Shout out to Maker's Mark.
Shout out to Maker's Mark. Like when I've traveled, and I make old fashions at home too, right? So when I travel, y'all cannot shake old fashions. Don't add 80 ice cubes. One giant ice block, or get like a chill cup and hand stir that thing. Stop playing around. And don't ask me if I want Jameson in my old fashioned. Y'all doing too much with that, respectfully. Anywho.
Definitely throwing the rum punch on the menu. Shout out to Sweet Brooklyn Bar. Rum punch, our #1 seller, going strong.
And their rum punch is different. Their rum punch is amazing. I've had it.
Yeah, it's definitely that juice, that rum punch.
Yeah, that rum punch is hitting. It's hitting.
It's so good. I'm scared of it, but definitely going on the menu.
With the music and that rum punch and some chicken and waffles, you try to stand up off them hot chairs and you be like, oh wait, my ankles don't work. Like I can't walk. Like you gotta get carried to the car.
Definitely a problem. Definitely a situation. So definitely
it's a vibe over there too. Like I want to shout out Sweet Brooklyn because the vibe, whoever that DJ is, I can't remember his name, but his set is different.
Well, it depends on the night, right?
It was Kwanzaa Crawl.
Oh, probably Chaos.
It might have been him, but I also went back there for like a couple of brunches, and it was just like, nah. Like usually I don't like a loud brunch because I'm getting older.
And our brunch is loud.
And it was loud in there, but it was like what he was spinning and it's like you can't sit still.
Yeah, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. And I mean, honestly, our DJ rotation, I think, is hits. We have a DJ probably 7 days a week at this point.
If you ever need my playlist, I'm a phone DJ. Plug me into the aux cord. I got you with some smooth stuff. And even like a few weeks ago, like I played a song and I had like
and then we rocked on that playlist for the rest of the evening.
Yes.
Need that again before you leave because it was fucking perfect.
Yes. So the first song I played was a Kevin Samuels moment, and I can't remember his name. Like one of your guys was running around. We were talking about Kevin Samuels, and people were like, oh, it's good that he's dead in the center third, and we were just like, whoa. He's not a bad guy. He just wanted more accountability. Anyway, I don't like bringing up Kevin Samuels because I know people have their very strong opinions about him. But the song was a Kevin Samuels moment where a guy, Dre Samuels, made a song where he was the man and the woman talking about dating each other, but from opposite perspectives. And it was called the Kevin Samuels moment because she was saying, you only wanted me when I got my body done. And he was saying, oh, you got your body done. So it was like a very powerful message, but it's a very smooth song. And I played it in here, and people were like tapping their feet. And then when I said it's called the Kevin Samuels moment, I see some faces like, oh, nah, never mind. I don't like the song anymore. So, but yeah, I'll get you that playlist.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
And did we answer the question? Because I know I keep going.
I think so.
tangents.
So we got rid of that old fashioned. We threw the rum punch on the menu, and then I think the blue dress I was drinking that.
There you go.
Swing that. I'm drinking that.
Perfect. Nah, listen, Sweet Catch here in Brooklyn. Would you mind telling them your address?
Of course not. 1222 Nostrand Avenue between Hawthorne and Winthrop. Flatbush, the new PLG.
We're not gonna put Little Caribbean.
Look, but like it's officially like zoned now as PLG though. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, some people may not even identify it as Flatbush. I know a lot of people that have been around they do. So I try to just kind of like acknowledge both.
I hear you. And listen, this is an inclusive place, so pull up, support. I want to thank you for taking time out before service to sit here and chat it up with me. Let them know what your website is for your spot. Plug, the 6th borough. Where can they find information about where they can get reservations? Anything you want to plug in terms of new things you have, any community service, any merch, whatever you want to plug, whether it be your brunch, your businesses, the floor is yours.
Well, you can find us on Resi.com. That's Sweet Catch Brooklyn and Sweet Brooklyn Bar on Resi. Our website, sweetbkbar.com. Our website for here is sweetcatchbk.com. Lostborough We're on IG, Facebook, all that. I definitely just want to implore people to be great. Being a business owner is definitely really challenging. It takes a lot of hard work, but I think the most valuable thing for me is time. I'm a single mom raising a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, so the fact that I could have that flexibility and focus on them is really important to me, and creating a legacy and some generational wealth for them is extremely important for me. I definitely want to encourage anybody that wants to be a business owner to not give up. Look for the information and the resources. Hit me on my personal Instagram account if you need to. I am a wealth of information. At first, I used to be a little intimidated or kind of like doubt myself and what I've done, but I've really come full circle and just allowed my journey to really make me comfortable and feel like I have some information to share. I may not be the smartest person, but they say you're as smart as the smartest person you know. So surround yourself with smart individuals that are going to build you up and help you propel. I love you. I'm here for everybody. One love.
Appreciate that. Make sure y'all pull up for them deviled eggs. I don't know what creative Sam talking about. Deviled eggs is bussin'.
And wait, and I said my Instagram, but I didn't say at Simply1KJ.
Yes, at Simply1KJ. So all of these links will be in the description of the video. The deviled eggs are bussin'. The goat cheese cornbread, yes.
Ooh, that avocado cornbread.
Avocado cornbread is bussin'. The corn waffle. But even during the week, you can pull up here for happy hour, 5 to 7, holla at Wade, get you some oysters. I'm going through probably, at one time, don't judge me, I probably went through like 24 or so, 24 oysters.
I just had 12 yesterday, so I ain't judging.
It was bussin', right? Get some oysters. The cornbread is bussin'. The seafood pasta is bustin'. The Aunt Doll's mac is bussin'. The lobster mac is bussin'.
Hey.
The burger. If you can't tell, I've tried probably the entire menu here. I've tried the whole menu, and I've tried pretty much all the drinks. But when you pull up here, tell them we sent you.
That's a fact.
Ask for Kawana, ask for Wade. Come to support. You will have a great time. But make sure if it's a Friday or a Saturday, you hit Resi and get a reservation, because it don't matter who you are. If it's packed in here, you will not have nowhere to sit. You might have to sit outside. It's warm enough.
And we do have a little patio in the back, though, so
It was a
we
patio.
can accommodate that, too.
And for anybody that wants to have a kids party, go to Lostborough, rent that out for your kids party, have some ice cream with your kids there.
Handmade by my partner.
I didn't know that. See, we
handcraft our ice cream.
We got to rewind.
Everything.
Handcraft. So what flavors do you have?
Ooh. Our most popular flavors is our blueberry crumb.
Okay.
We have a rolls with praline pecans. That's dumb good. We have a grape nut. That's fire.
Hold on. You had me at grape nut. That's my joint.
The grape nut is real.
Do you have pistachio too?
We do have a pistachio, but that's not like a regular revolving
So my go-to right now is a pistachio latte. Like I buy my own syrup. Shout out to Lips Cafe. But
shout out to Lips.
Like I have pistachio syrup in the house. Like pistachio ice cream was my first favorite ice cream. So I gotta pull up and get some of that. Grape nut.
The grape nut is dumb good. And I like to mix it with the peanut butter jelly, because that's my favorite flavor, that peanut butter jelly.
Somebody called me an old grandma for eating pistachio and grape nut, but I'm like, yo, like those are like the best ones. Like I always go left when everybody's eating like they Neapolitan and they eating like they Rocky Road. Nah,
We got a fig and walnuts
Yeah.
that's slamming.
Oh,
That's our
man.
bougie flavor. It's dumb
that's
good.
it. Fig and walnuts. People don't even know what a fig is. So that's all right. So you got that. Do you have like a strawberry option?
Yeah, we got strawberry shortcake.
You got cheesecake too?
Cheesecake he's throwing in rotation, but strawberry
Okay.
shortcake stays in the display.
Like in the joint where you could just come get
That's
a
a
scoop.
fact.
All right, so,
Mad good.
And it's hand churned, handmade.
Handcrafted in store, in house.
My daughter for her last birthday, her most recent birthday, she got the hand churned ice cream, and I was like, oh, this is cool, but we're ice cream not snobs, but we eat a lot of ice cream, so we will pull up. And I might even have to talk to you about renting that out for her birthday because she was saying she wanted to go to Paris. We ain't going to Paris.
Ooh.
No, we're not going to Paris.
Fancy.
We're not going to Paris. Instead of Paris, we'll go to Paris Yonkers. And we will have some ice cream. So appreciate your time. Appreciate
course.
everything. Appreciate, the Bev. Make sure y'all pull up and support. Like I said, if you come to Sweet Catch in Little Caribbean, a.k.a. Calictoville, they would take good care of you. Like I said, Wade's in the background right now. Get ready for service. Kawana's here. It'll chef up some amazing stuff for you. Nothing on the menu is bad. I've literally had everything here and pretty much at Sweet Catch that's not pork. I'm paused at Sweet Brooklyn that's not pork. So please pull up and support. And if you want one of these cool things, DM us. These are going on the website soon, but these are for sale. We keep selling out, but we will keep replenishing. Follow us. Keep supporting us. We appreciate y'all. Over and out.